What's good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down what's going on with SPY thus far, and then talk about some very important levels to be watching for, and what's going on with the market as we have some big data coming out at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. So anyways, let's talk about what's going on with the market. Looking at SPY, this thing is currently down about 0.14% during the pre-market. Tesla is flat, and a couple of tickers are also red. I mean, Apple's kind of flat, but the QQQ is red. Nvidia is kind of flat as well. And we're actually starting to see some ETFs dropping a bit, but then the question is, will they continue to drop, or is this going to be some kind of fake out? Well, it's going to depend on many different factors. I first want to talk about the news, then I'm going to break down the economic data. As a reminder, though, at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the consumer confidence reports coming out, and this could cause a very, very big move. Don't forget, we have a lot of manufacturing numbers, the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index, Manufacturing Shipments Index, and all this data is coming out at 10 a.m. This could cause a move in the markets. I think it most likely will. So we'll see if this causes the market to pop or drop even more. And then later on, we have Waller giving a speech from the Fed. We have Bowman, and then we have Barr and a bunch of Fed speakers throughout the day. So be prepared for that. But don't forget, expect some volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, to add on to this, what are some things to know about the markets when it comes to the news? Right now, the market appears to be taking a breather after the amount of winning we've been seeing for the last 4 weeks. It's finally time for us to see some downside, possibly, but we have to wait for confirmation to turn even more bearish, and we're not really getting confirmation yet. On top of this, there's been some talk about how the e-commerce stocks are getting a nice boost, closing up between 3 and 7% as they're benefiting from online shopping. And once again, there's been a lot of talk about how retailers saw about 5% higher in trading after the hours, because we ended up seeing a record of $4.1 billion in sales for like stocks like Shopify. So once again, some good news came out for the e-commerce industry, especially throughout the weekend. On top of this, we're seeing some more things going on with the iRobot. They basically dropped about 17% Monday after the antitrust watchdog warned that Amazon's planned acquisition of the company raised some concerns about competition. So this was some big news for them, and it's very important. And besides that, Aapl supplier Foxconn Technology is increasing its investments in India. There's also some interest by Tesla on that. And besides that, there are other IPOs coming out. But that's pretty much it for the news. We have some new technological updates and lots of good news for the e-commerce space for the time being. Futures are lower as investors assess the pause in the November rally. But besides that, now let's break down what's going on with the charts. So on SPY, this morning thus far, it's looking kind of weak since we're hitting the 5 minutes 200 EMA and kind of rejecting off of it a bit. But I'm not extremely bearish. I'm not extremely bullish either just yet, because I had this drawn out yesterday, right? We had this much larger, and you guys can actually ignore the white lines for now when I show you this. We had this rising wedge on SPY, right? I've been talking about this for a while, and we're starting to break out of it, but it's not really like tanking as we break. It's just slowly downtrending a bit. But the question is this going to turn into some kind of flag? Or are we about to see some downside? Well, as of right now, I told you the market's doing this, the back and forth thing in this channel, and we're technically still respecting it. So there's no true break just yet. If we're bullish, okay, you want to see this trend line here, this white trend line on SPY get a breakout. We want to start breaking up towards 456.5 above this, and this could be our flag. And that is one possibility for the bullish case. If we're bearish, you want to see it break below this lower trend line right here. See this lower trend line? You want to break below that and come down to like 452. If we come all the way down to 452, then this thing is going to start sinking much lower towards these imbalances, back down to support at 450.5. Then we're going to see a much bigger drop if we lose 452. So right now, SPY is on the lower half of this channel basically, and we're having a hard time kind of like breaking out to try to get back up to the upper trend line. So it is looking weaker right now. So it does favor the possibility of us just like breaking down like this, but you have to wait and see if we actually get the break. So we're going to see some data at 10 o'clock a.m. That's going to cause some volatility. We'll see if that causes us to bounce or not. As of right now, we're still in the balance of this channel. So I'm not extremely bearish yet. I'm not extremely bullish either. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. Okay, we have a gap that's forming on SPY. We'll see if we bounce to fill the gap and hit the upper trend line, or if we break down. As of right now, the assumption is we're still stuck in the range, right? We're still going back and forth, and we have to see which way we break first before we dictate and determine a direction. All right, so the best thing to do is just be very patient, remain calm, cool, and collected. We'll have to see from there. For resistance, we're currently at the time I'm recording this, 453.5 or 453.75. Watch resistance at 454. If you get above that, watch 454.5, 455. And for support, you're going to be watching 453.5. If we lose that, we could see this thing sink to the pre-market low at 453.3. Then we have 452 coming next. We'll see if it holds. Remember, we're still in this channel. We'll see which way we break for now. On the QQQ, this is also looking a little weak, just like SPY, because we're actually down 0.2% in the pre-market, and we're simultaneously rejecting of the 5-minute 200 EMA. Now, I just want to call out, the QQQ looks bearish because we have a possible left shoulder here. We have the head up here. We have a right shoulder that formed during yesterday's rejection of 391 resistance, and now we're starting to sink. So we're barely holding 388, the level I called out yesterday. I was expecting 388 to be tested on the QQQ, and that's where we're currently at. Now, the current trend looks bearish on the 5 minutes. If you look at the 4-hour time frame, we're also looking a little bearish. And it looks like it's going to come down to 385 if we lose 388. So it looks bearish overall, but we need to see a confirmation of this move, especially after all this data comes out at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So even though we have a bearish setup, I'm going to be watching 388. If we break below this and fail, the next level is going to be 386.6. If that fails us, then we're going to come all the way down towards 385, 383, and then we're going to see this thing start filling some gaps below. But as of right now, we look more bearish than bullish, but watch 388 for support. Watch 389 as resistance, and just know that right now we do favor the bears as we're starting to see this thing downtrending. Okay, guys, so watch the head and shoulders. QQQ is looking weaker than SPY, and watch and see if we break to the downside. As far as Nvidia go, we didn't really get much of a drop right here. We're just completely flat. As far as Nvidia goes, it's very simple. If we're bearish, you want to see Nvidia basically break below 480, and that's when we're going to enter this critical zone right here. If we lose 474, we're going to turn more bearish and start sinking towards 468. If we're bullish, right, if Nvidia wants to turn bullish, you want to see this thing try to get back above very close to 490, if not breaking above that, then we're going to turn bullish. As of right now, we're kind of like range trading between 480 and 485, going back and forth and back and forth. It's been doing that for the past day and a half, so we'll see which way it breaks. Once again, if we lose 480, there's going to be a risk of downside. If we manage to break above 485, there's some risk of upside. Right now, we're just flat in the middle, so we'll just have to see which way Nvidia breaks. And I'm just going to be very patient with this. Tesla has some upside potential, because if you look at it compared to the market, it's very flat, but it's still technically uptrending, right? We made a higher high, higher low. This is not a higher high, but we made another higher low, and it has potential to try to break out from here. So what you could do is you can actually instead, I'm going to actually delete this now. We could technically draw a trend line from here, and you could see that Tesla's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter, if anything. And I think it's due for like a really big move, depending on where we try to break or not. One of the things I've been saying is that I think Tesla will eventually fill this imbalance at 242. Right now, it's just very tight, trading sideways in the 236s, but I think there's going to be a break to the upside. We have to watch 238 as resistance. If we break that, watch 242. As of right now, we're just kind of choppy, and I think we're just going to range trade between 235 and 238. But there is potential for it to break to the upside, and I do favor that in the future. It may take a few days, but I think that it's eventually going to come. So it looks pretty good. It's kind of consolidating, getting tighter and tighter. I think it's just going to get tighter for some time before the breakout, and it could happen by tomorrow. So watch for a break-in on Tesla soon. I think by Thursday, we should see 242. And we'll be watching 238 as resistance. Nothing really changed from yesterday as Tesla was trading sideways. We'll be watching it very, very carefully. Finally, for Apple stock, just want to call out that Apple right now is very flat, very, very flat, not really doing much, just consolidating. If we're bearish, you want to see this thing come back down to 189 and then lose it. If we're bullish, you want to see it break above 191. We're dead in the center right now, just chopping back and forth and back and forth. It looks very choppy, but I am seeing some weakness because we've been technically downtrending for the last couple of days. So watch and see if we could get down to 189 and lose it. There's also a possible inverse head and shoulders here that could invalidate all of this and turn bullish. So it all depends on where we end up going. But just don't forget that we're kind of stuck between 189 and 191. Whichever one breaks will determine the bigger move. If we break 191, then the inverse head and shoulders plays down, this thing starts pushing. If we break below 189, we're going to start sinking. So just watch it carefully. We're kind of shopping for now. Watch and see if there are any fake outs, and just know that the market has some weakness. Some stocks look okay, kind of choppy. Other stocks are looking weaker, such as SPY and the QQQ. Make sure you watch your levels for confirmation. Get ready for some volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.